Hey everyone, Matt here from Brooks Adrenaline, and today we're going to do a 100-mile review of the Brooks Adrenaline GTS 25. Now, this is the moderate stability daily training shoe of the Brooks lineup, and it has been for a very long time, over 25 years. GTS stands for Go-To Support, and over the years I've had various thoughts of what that stood for. Go-To Stability, Go-To Shoe, but it's Go-To Support because it's written on the side here, so that should make that fairly obvious. Now, it still is a go-to shoe for a lot of people. The reason that is actually talked about at one point is because this has been one of the more popular selling running shoes on the market. Now, a lot of people use it for running. A lot of people use it for walking as well. I'd probably say it probably sells better as a walking shoe too, given that most people in the United States actually buy running shoes for walking more than runners do, but that's a different conversation. But it does very well walking. It does okay for running. It's a consistent shoe. It's not sexy. It's not bouncy, but it is at least consistent. Now, there are some pretty massive changes in version 25 that we need to talk about. For those that have run in the shoe for a long time, those changes might require some transition. Some might be good, some might be some things you might need to get used to. But as always with this review, we're going to talk about what those changes are, and definitely with the 100-mile review, talk about how that durability has lasted and what's happened with the shoe over 100+ miles. So as always, we are going to start off with specs first. In my men's size 10, this thing is coming in at 10.6 ounces or about 302 grams. It's not the lightest daily trainer, also not the heaviest, but not on the lighter spectrum. So there's a good amount of oomph to this shoe. The stack height is where things change. 37 millimeters in the heel, 27 in the forefoot, and for what I think is the first time in Adrenaline history, a 10 millimeter drop. And why that's really significant is when you have a shoe that's had a 12 millimeter drop for this long, that people have been running in for 25+ versions, and I'm sure there are some people out there that have been doing that. When you lower the drop, it's really important that some people are going to be fine, and they're not going to notice this all. Other people that have been in the same shoe for a while, I'm really going to encourage you, if you want to move to 25, you take the 24, take the 23, whatever you have, and ease your way into the shoe. Do not just jump in. Go back and forth. One day version 25, one day version 24 or whatever, and just go back and forth so you let your calf and Achilles tendon just get used to this. Like I said, some people, this will be fine. Others, just to make sure you don't get any irritations. This is a pretty big change, and it is noticeable compared to 24. Now, the other thing that's really significant about this is the Adrenaline 25 has the best heel bevel of any Adrenaline I've ever tried. I've been running in this shoe for like 15 years. Previous versions, the older versions, I love that they felt snappy despite being a little bit more of a large shoe, and at least not as tall as today's stuff, but I never was good at heel striking in this shoe. Every time I had that shoe, I felt like I had to get up my forefoot. Was it snappy? Yes. This is not a snappy midsole. This is the first one that I've gotten to 100 miles in several years because I've actually wanted to run in the heel. So much better heel transition, not the smoothest on the market, but the smoothest for the Adrenaline in a long time. So you're gonna feel much better transition here. The lateral aspect of the sole is also designed to collapse a little bit here. So again, another reason for those who land posterior lateral, this is gonna feel great. It's really good for those with medial stability needs, which we'll talk about in a second, not for those with lateral stability needs. Transitions through fairly boring normal midfoot, and then there's going to be some forefoot flexibility here. This has become more apparent with the more miles. If you have toe mobility problems, osteoarthritis, any kind of stuff in the toes that prevents motion there, and you need a stiff forefoot rocker, this is not going to be the shoe for you. But if you like your toes moving, this is actually going to be a really great option. Now, speaking of moving a lot and moving quickly, this is not a shoe meant for moving quickly. This has full-length DNA Loft version 3, which I'm really enjoying DNA Tune. The Brooks Adrenaline GTS 22, I really am enjoying how that, even though it's a heavy shoe, it's got a decent amount of bounce, which is nice and offsets that heavier weight. DNA Loft version 3, there's no bounce to this. It's not soft, it's not really firm, it's probably just a touch on the soft side, but there is no bounce to this midsole. This is all gonna be on you. So if you're looking for a sexy ride, it's not that. If you're looking for a new age ride with some of the newer foams that are coming out, it is not that. It's just gonna provide some cushioning for you over mileage. And I have found that this shoe has done really well over short to moderate runs. When I start running longer in the shoe, and especially as I've gotten more miles on these things firm up a lot, especially in the forefoot to an uncomfortable level. When I get past about 7 or 8 miles, every single time I've done a long run, the forefoot just starts to feel way too firm, and it makes my forefoot start to ache a little bit. So it's better as a moderate distance shoe. I think if you want like a marathon or longer distance shoe, even though it's a little heavier, the Glycerin GTS, the Glycerin Max, any of those ones that have just a little bit newer foam, there's going to be better. This is going to be better for longer walking, longer standing in short to moderate distance runs because yes, this provides some like standard cushioning, like old school kind of like as I was talking about, but it just tends to firm up too much. And I say, as I've been running more in these things, they are starting to firm up more and more and more. So not the most durable shoe on the market for sure, but at least it's still holding itself together for what's probably going to be an average number of miles. And I will also say that the outsole is doing the same thing, where at 100 miles, if you are new to this channel, if you've never seen this before, this light might look shocking. This is actually really good for me. I have destroyed shoes in like 50 miles. Have a weird gait. I'm really hard on shoes. This is not bad. It's also not great either. Chewing into the midsole material, starting to rip through a little bit of the stuff, but this has not come off yet. So again, average stability. Not great, not bad, right in the middle. Kind of like the stability in this shoe, where when I first tried this on, they've got sidewalls here and they've got a medial post in here as well. I know they have a lateral sidewall, but this shoe is not going to do really well for those with like really large supination problems. It's going to push you more that way. But as I started in this shoe, the post was super noticeable. And I'm like, whoa, this is like really intense, which at the time I was really enjoying. It does break in. Like the midsole, it starts to lessen it a little bit, and that's where Brooks DNA signature is coming in, where it keeps you a little bit more centered. It doesn't tend to push you as much unless you really need it. So that's where actually long runs were great, where as I kind of fell into this shoe more as I got tired, it did support me. So rear foot, midfoot feels great. The post and the sidewall feels most prominent in those areas right about like kind of posterior midfoot, anterior heel, where this feels most prominent. There is a small sidewall in the forefoot, but for the most part, this is not going to be highly stable to those who need forefoot stability. It's going to be more heel, midfoot, and it's going to stay there and give you as much or as little as you need in that moderate level. Those who need mild stability or neutral mechanics, this is probably not going to work because it is on that moderate to slightly higher initially, and then it starts to transition away from that as it breaks in like most shoes. So no, it's going to change a little bit over the lifetime. So that sole, that stability, still a moderate stability shoe for heel and midfoot. Uppers, a little different. There is a little bit more padding. It's a little bit warmer than the last version. The biggest change is going to be the tongue's a little thicker, and there's a ton of heel padding here, which for me, I actually like. It does make the shoe feel a tiny bit shorter than normal. It's still true to size, not a wide fit, not a narrow fit. If you need a wider fit, there's gonna be a wide version as always, but there's a little stretch to this upper, but there's so much cushioning back here, it actually offset how stiff this heel counter is. So if you have heel sensitivities like I do, you might actually be able to get away with this shoe for a while before this firms out, but there's also a lot of padding here. So if you don't like kind of excessively padded heel, just be aware this might get annoying. The tongue is also not gusseted, so I have had it slip a little bit. So I did need to tighten the laces down. Even though this isn't a wide fit, I still had to lock it down just to get the tongue from slipping. So just be aware of a couple things. Overall, this is still a solid shoe. It's not a sexy shoe. It's not going to be my first choice. Is it a great walking shoe if I need a slightly higher drop and a little more stability? Absolutely. Is it a fairly consistent shoe? Like, it's an Adrenaline. You know you're going to get what you're going to get with the Adrenaline. Is it the absolute most durable, lightest, fastest shoe? No, that's not the purpose. Brooks has some other options there, and there are many other stability options that might take that up. But if you're just looking for a consistent shoe that's now got more of a 10 millimeter drop, the go-to support, the GTS starting to adapt to people a little bit more. The only thing I just want to tell Brooks is, yes, it's a consistent shoe. There's some changes here that are going to bring it forward, but just can you make the midsole a little bit bouncier? Just because it's a stability shoe doesn't mean it has to be boring. The midsole's boring. I'm just going to say it. It's boring. It's not the sexy shoe, which there's a lot of reasons for that, and I can understand that people have been in the shoe for years and consumers want a consistent thing. But I think with the other stuff on the market, it would be nice to have a little bit more bounce, but that also might take away from it being a decent walking shoe for a lot of people, which it does well. I've spent hours standing in this shoe. I've used it for a clinic. I've used it while teaching. I've used it while standing for a long period of time. It does do really well with walking. For running, it's just, I feel like it's missing a little bit from today's world and the more exciting midsoles. So Brooks, I know you have some PU-based stuff. I know you're experimenting with stuff. DNA tune's great. I'm sure it'll come into this in the future. But for the moment, it's a standard shoe. It's an Adrenaline. The biggest changes, though, are going to be the teeny bit softer ride from previous, but not bouncy, and the best heel transition and the lowest drop of any Adrenaline coming down to 10 millimeters. So that's the 100-mile review of this shoe. As always, I want to know your opinion as well. I am one person. I'm not perfect. I'm just trying to put this stuff out there because I really want to help people make better decisions about what they're putting on their feet. And I want to be honest about what I'm feeling and what I'm experiencing. We are not paid for these reviews. We do not take money from any companies. We will not sell these shoes once we finish with them. A lot of my students get shoes for free if they're size 10. because we want to pass stuff on. We want to help you make better decisions. But part of that is if you want to contribute down below, please comment, leave your opinion. If you had a different experience, please put it down there, because the whole point is we want to help people make better decisions about what they put their feet on their feet, educate them to them as an individual. I might not match with them. I might. I don't know, but if you have some comments, please put them below so you can help people learn what's best for them, get out there and run in what's supposed to be enjoying a simple sport.